We're talking with JD in Minneapolis. He's been dating a young lady for 2 years. She refuses to discuss her debt with him. They're discussing marriage. She wants to buy a home before they're married with an FHA loan because she doesn't have any money to put down. And he wants to know how to handle both issues with her. Is that a fair summary of what you told me, sir?
Yes, I wouldn't be paying for the house until we're married, and I wouldn't move in with her till we're married. We agreed on that.
Good clarification. Thank you for that. Well, how old are you, sir?
29.
Okay, all right. I have a daughter that is 29 and is married, and kids in your age group. Some are married, some aren't. So I'm going to treat this as if I was discussing this with one of them because it's really,
Okay.
it's really, really important. Okay. This is a real serious problem that the two of you have to get some help solving before you move forward with your relationship. That would be my best strong old man advice to you. Okay, here's why. There's tons of research that shows that if you can be in agreement on 4 areas prior to being married and have clarity and agreement on the principles of how we're going to handle these areas, that your success in your marriage goes through the roof. The chance of your marriage being successful is very, very high if you're in agreement on these 4 areas: money, children, whether to have them, how to treat them, in-laws, how to deal with them because there's crazy in every family, and religion. If you are not in agreement on any one of those 4 or 3 of those 4, then you're going to have, statistically, you're going to have major problems in your marriage that you have to work through. Okay? And that's advice. You know, if I'm looking at getting married, I want to know what the best what makes a best kind of a marriage, and one of the things is to be in agreement on those 4 things going forward. Of those, number 1 cause of divorce, number 1 cause of conflict in marriage is money. It's the number 1. And so it is the opportunity to have the best marriage or the worst marriage based on how we handle this subject, and you guys have a terrible start.
Do you think it's fair that she is asked that we talk about that after we get engaged, or do you think I
absolutely think that is ludicrous.
Okay.
Okay, and just based on what I just told you. Okay, so how do we handle that? If you're in your shoes, because you obviously love this girl, and so you know, I think if I were in your shoes, I would go back to her and I would say, listen, I've been doing a little bit of research and talking to some people in the financial field, because you have just now.
Yep.
And I found that this number 1 cause of stress in relationships and in marriages, number 1 cause of divorce is money, and so we really have got to get this on the same page. And honey, if you have got a huge pile of debt, it's not a disqualifier for me. I'm not going to walk away from you because of that. But I will tell you that if we can't get on the same page on how we're going to handle it and can't be open and honest and authentic with each other over this area, it's a huge warning sign we're going to have to work through before we can move forward, or if we're going to move forward.
Okay.
And that's a gentle way. I'm not saying throw down and go, I'm going to break up with you, you don't come clean. You know, that's not what you're going to do. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm not suggesting you do that. Because obviously you guys are in love, and obviously this is moving forward. But just, you know, you know, if they said there's one reason that you have a car wreck and the person driving is exhibiting that reason, then you got to go, dude, I ain't riding with you. You know, I got to get, you know, we got to fix that for me to ride with you. Whatever it is. You follow me? This is the number 1 thing. It's not like number 10. It's not like it might be a problem. It's going to be huge. So we've got to have her where she's not ashamed and hiding things, where she's not obstinate and angry and has her rights. Instead, we're going to work together. I love you. I'm going to, whatever it is, we're going to dig out of it together. And you're going to, you know, we got to talk this through together. And we're not going to make major decisions like buying a house. We're not going to make those kind of decisions if we're walking towards an altar together by ourselves.
Yeah.
So, honey, what that means is after we're married or while we're engaged, I'm not going to come home and go, I just spent $29,000 on a bass boat. I hope you like it. I'm not going to do that because you're half of my brain once we're committed to this thing. And so we're going to work together. And I don't need your permission to buy a bass boat, but I want to talk it through with you, and we're going to make decisions together. I'm not saying you have to submit to me or you have to bow down to me. That's not the point. The point is we've got to learn to work together, and this area is such a big indicator that if we can't, then we've got to work on it until we can before we can move forward to engagement. And I would not. I would beg you to not get engaged, and certainly to not get married until you guys get these two issues resolved, and the two of you. And you know, I'm telling you, if it was Dave Ramsey's son, my son is single. If Dave Ramsey's son was going to marry a girl that had $200,000 in student loan debt, I would not tell him to walk away from her based on that. I would tell him to walk away from her based on the fact that she's hiding it, she's obstinate, she's scared, she's shamed, or that she continues to believe that that's an awesome thing and she should keep that debt forever. Because he's never going to agree with that if he's my son, right?
Yep.
And so they're going to be in constant conflict. And I would say the fact that we can't come together and be in agreement is a deal breaker, not the debt. You see the difference?
Yes.
And so that's why I told you going in the break, it's a real serious subject, because this is a deal breaker if you can't solve it, if you're wise. But I think it's solvable, because I think I'm going to guess based on your conversation. I think it's more based in the fact that in shame, in that she's just ashamed and she just doesn't want you to know how big a mess she's got. And she's afraid you're going to be all judgmental, you know? Even though you might not be, even though you might not have been before this conversation, you know? But I wouldn't be judgmental. I would just go, hey, everybody messes up. As long as we're in agreement, we're not borrowing money, and going forward, as long as we're in agreement, we're going to work to take this thing out, then and fix it, then we've got an agreement. The debt, the size of it doesn't scare you, you know? I guess if she's got $20 million in debt, you may want to rethink it, but I mean... But that's probably not it, right? Is this logical to you?
Completely. And, you know, I honestly believe that God does speak wisdom into you, because lots of that is what I believe to be the case as well. And you are confirming a lot of it. I really, really appreciate this phone call.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you calling in. And I want you to hear loud and clear, and I want our listeners to hear loud and clear. I'm not condemning her for this.
Yep.
And so we're not walking away because she doesn't agree with Dave Ramsey. That's not got anything to do with this. This has got to do with you guys got to be on the same page. And crap, you don't even know what's on the page.
True. Yep.
Thanks for the call, brother. Good luck with that. You might call back and let me know how it all works out. Our listeners would love to hear.